for a conversation with the clerk.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the recording is now on. Madam Clerk, if you're ready, we can start the hearing.
And the stream is live, Madam Chair.
Okay, good morning. The Hearing Board of the South Coast Air Quality Management District is now in session. Today is December 1st, 2020. The time is 9:00 a.m. and we are meeting remotely via Zoom due to the current pandemic and the stay-at-home orders still in place in the state of California. We have one matter on the calendar today, and it is on the consent calendar. And that matter is Torrance Refining Company, LLC, case number 6060-12 for a short variance and for alternative operating conditions, AOC. We have several documents that I will mark to begin the hearing. First off, we have an amended petition, and to that amended petition, there are 4 exhibits, and we will mark those exhibits as they are numbered in the petition. So that is exhibit number 1 will be the permit, facility permit. Exhibit number 2 will be the 1-page diagram of Unit 28 sulfur handling. Exhibit number 3 will be the permit for the vapor point system, the various locations permit. And finally, exhibit number 4, which is attached to the petition, will be the proposed variance conditions in AOC. We also received consent calendar documents, and so we'll mark those in turn now as well. We have a stipulation to place the petition for short variance and alternative operating condition on consent calendar. And as the clerk has pointed out, we received the actual one with the signature by Karen Manwaring, District Counsel. That's the one we will mark. And I'm going to go through it, and we'll mark other exhibits as we go through it. The parties agree that the matter may be placed on consent calendar. The petitioner is seeking short variance in AOC from several district rules, and in particular permit conditions. And they're listed in the stipulation and in the papers as well. The parties also agree that the declaration of Valerie Tse, which is filed concurrently, well, it was filed as Exhibit 1 of the stipulation, but we're going to remark it, may be entered into evidence. So we're going to mark the declaration. Did I mark the stipulation? Yes, I did, as Exhibit 5. And the declaration of Valerie Tse will be marked as exhibit number 6 and entered into evidence. And finally, the parties have agreed on proposed findings and decision and a proposed order. And we're going to mark that proposed findings and decision and order as exhibit number 7. The parties, excuse me, also request again that the parties that we decide the matter based on the stipulation, the declaration, and the documents submitted by the parties. Since there are no excess emissions, which we'll get to in a moment, they're not expected to be a resulting violation of nuisance, Health and Safety Code 41700, and the district does not oppose consideration of the short variance in AOC on consent. So those are all the papers, and that's the stipulation. And I'm going to look and see if there's anyone else who has joined us before we start deliberation to see if there's any member of the public who wishes to be heard. I know we're being broadcast, so if there's any member of the public who wishes to be heard, please let me know by indicating either electronically raising your hand, you can see that below, or raising your hand and turning on your camera, or just verbally letting us know. And I see no member of the public who wishes to be heard. Senator, you had something to.
By the petition received, same petition, etc., the dates received were different. One is November the 10th and one is November the 20th. Which one are you referring to?
We are looking at the amended petition, which was the later petition that you heard. And when we get into deliberation, which we could start now, my understanding of the amendment is because there are 3 streams that are fed to the incinerator, which will be taken offline. And one of the streams is not compatible with the vapor point system, which they're bringing in. And so they had to amend the petition.
So November 20th is the right one that you referred to.
I'm not sure which is the date on it, but it should say amend. I'll show you. Look, it says amended petition on the top. See that? So the amended petition is the correct one we're working from, and the consent papers.
I have it.
Great. Okay, board members, I'm happy to begin the deliberation. Let's talk about what we have here. This is the kind of matter we like to see, which is preventative maintenance being done at the proper time when it's necessary. The petitioner has a planned routine replacement of 2 of its 4 burners, which are serving one of the incinerators that controls vapors and emissions. And it's because they have reached the end of their useful life. And so this is the kind of maintenance we want to see. And so they're requesting relief to disconnect the incinerator and also to repair a section of steam jacketed piping serving a carbon absorber bed. They want to do that at the same time because that repair also requires that the incinerator be taken offline and shut down. So they're doing that maintenance at the same time. So 2 types of maintenance which require the disconnection of the incinerator. However, in order to do that and to make sure that there are no excess emissions, the proposal and the order would have a vapor control system, a vapor point system being it's a various locations portable unit, and it will control all the emissions, with the exception of that one vapor stream that I mentioned, and that is in the declaration of Valerie Tsay, which is the vapor stream that comes from
disulfide reactor.
Thank you. The Mirox fume gas from disulfide separator 27C-11A, because it's incompatible with the vapor point system, and that they have proposed to just block it off during the work and while the incinerator is offline. So with that, there should be no excess emissions. They've gone through all of the 6 findings. They're not currently in violation of any rule or permit condition, but when they disconnect, they will be in and do this work. They will be in violation of several permit conditions, including the conditions that require the incinerator to be connected. Also, the requirements of continuous monitoring of H2S, but that monitoring will be done under the permit for the vapor point system. And also the requirement that the incinerator be at 900 degrees Fahrenheit, at least 900 degrees Fahrenheit, because during the startup of the incinerator, they won't be able to, until it comes fully online, to be at that 900 degrees. So that's essentially what they're asking for. Relief from, nothing having to do with any emission limits. I do believe it's beyond their reasonable control. Again, this is preventative maintenance, something that we definitely like to see. Requiring compliance would result in an arbitrary or unreasonable taking of property because they need to replace those burners, or else they'll be past their useful life and would likely result in breakdown. And also that additional repair needs to be done. Closing or taking would be without a corresponding benefit in reducing air contaminants. In fact, they say that the portable system has a higher efficiency. And so they predict that emissions will actually be less under the variance. They cannot curtail in lieu of a variance because they need to actually disconnect the incinerator in order to do all this repair work. They will reduce excess emissions to the maximum extent feasible. In fact, they are offsetting all excess emissions that would otherwise have resulted by bringing in that portable unit. And finally, they are going to be doing any emissions quantification through the monitoring on the vapor point system. Finally, they are actually requesting an AOC as well. And so they have gone through, starting on page 7 of Exhibit 7, which is the proposed findings and decision. They've gone through the additional findings we need to make for an AOC. They will not be in violation of any applicable NSPS or NESHAP or other standard that is listed in Rule 518.2, specifically because there are no excess emissions in this matter. Similarly, all of the other additional findings we need to make in 518.2 mostly can be made because there are no excess emissions. And so there will be no exceedance of any national ambient air quality standard, no excess emissions that have to be offset in any way, et cetera. And so we can make the findings, or I can make the findings for the AOC as well. The only issue that I do have, and this is a problem because unfortunately Thursday was a holiday and the district was closed Thursday and Friday. So while these consent papers were timely normally, and they were filed on Wednesday, it did not give the hearing board a lot of time to look through them. So if I had adequate time, I would have caught this issue, but I'm going to say it out loud, and I'm sure the parties are monitoring, and I think that shouldn't be a problem. And that is the fact that Unit 27C-11A, as mentioned, cannot be handled through the vapor point system, and so they're just going to close it off. But I don't see that requirement in the conditions. What I do see in the conditions, and perhaps Mr. Balagopalan, you can shed light on this for me. I see under notification requirements in condition 1, which is on page 9 of the proposed variance and AOC, the proposed findings and decision. 1D requires notification that unit 27C11 is placed under nitrogen blanket, and then 1F requires restoration, notification of the restoration of gas flow from 27C11A. So that insinuates to me that they're going to actually be stopping the flow. And also, I just want to point out that in Exhibit 6, which is the declaration of Valerie Tsay, she actually says, I don't have the page number. I don't know if this is page numbered, but it is her paragraph something G, 14G, where she talks about, 14F, where she talks about the violations during the variance period. She talks about the fact that that particular stream cannot be handled in the vapor point unit. And she says, instead, during the proposed work, these gases will be temporarily blocked in and prevented from emitting to atmosphere at all, and then rerouted back to incinerator 28F11 for control when the proposed work is complete. So with those two things, I feel comfortable that the parties have an understanding that the variance in AOC will require exactly that. Mr. Balagopalan, can you please add to that? That would be great.
Yes, I think you pointed out all the elements correctly, especially regarding the disulfide separator. I did ask a question before as part of my consent approval, and how they're going to monitor that. And they did reply to me. They didn't say, and they said, what, and I'll read what they said, that the
Please
will
read
be
what they
monitor-
said. Let me just interrupt you for a second because we didn't receive that. So
yeah, I don't think yes.
that's important in the future, but I understand why we didn't, because unfortunately this all was handled right before the holidays and
Right.
our clerks are overloaded as it is. So can you please read that into the record for us all to
Sure.
kind of consider?
Okay. And really I'll just summarize my question. I just asked how the exhaust gas from the separator will be monitored, how they monitor and ensure that the pressure doesn't build up in the vessel and the gas vented. So in response, I say that they will monitor it at the console, and I'm assuming the control room, to ensure the equipment does not overpressure. In the rare chance that it does, there's a relief valve that is set at a much higher pressure that will allow the exhaust gas to relieve into the vapor recovery system and will be captured into the fuel gas treater unit and scrub. This will ensure that there will be no appreciable risk of this gases venting to the atmosphere. So I do suggest, and I think they didn't mention the nitrogen blanket, but as you pointed out, it's in the order that they are putting it under a nitrogen blanket. So they're going to put it, capture it in the vessel, and they'll monitor if there's an overpressure, and if there's a release, they will vent it to the gas, to fuel treater and scrub. I suggest we put that as a condition, and I can propose a language,
Unfortunately, when it's on consent, we can't
Oh,
do
consent,
that.
yeah.
That's
All
why that should have been done. And that would have been done had we had enough time with these consent documents in advance.
Because there's another couple of errors, not errors, so in the findings, they indicated that this reactor will be vented to the vapor recovery, the portable unit, but really, as we pointed out, that this will not be vented. But in the order, they did include that piece of equipment being vented to the portable vapor recovery unit. So we need to at least reflect that, that won't be.
What I'd like to do is I'd like to, when I make a motion, I'm going to make the motion, which is going to include those understandings. And so
Okay.
while there is no that's the problem. The problem is that the conditions of the variance in AOC do not include a requirement of this nitrogen blanket and don't require that unit 27C11 be blocked off from atmosphere. But there's a requirement that they notify the district when they've done that. So we're just going to read into it that is a requirement. And that will be what the motion will be based on.
Okay.
Otherwise, I can't see a way around it because we can't write it in, although it's clear that it is. I mean, I guess we could. I say we can't, but I don't see why we actually, now that I'm thinking about it, generally speaking, we can't write things into consent because they've stipulated to what they've stipulated to. However, they have actually stipulated to this. They just didn't reflect it. And I think that was a mistake.
Right.
So
yeah.
if we add, I think we can add just a very simple new condition number 2, and then renumber after that. That will say, and tell me if I'm saying this correctly, petitioner shall, is it place unit 27C11 under a nitrogen blanket prior to disconnecting the incinerator?
Yes. And to monitor the pressure at the console, which that's what they indicated. I'm not sure what console, but we'll use the language they provided. So there's some monitoring also of that pressure that builds up in the vessel.
Problem is that we don't have any agreement about how often they're monitoring. I mean,
Yeah,
I would be hesitant to leave that. That'll be that's an understanding that they are doing that. But I just want to make sure that they're placing under the nitrogen blanket.
And the only reason I brought that up because that methyl, the Merox, it's mercaptans. If it's get released, it's got a very, very strong odor because, as you know, that's what they use to odorize natural gas and stuff. So it looks like they are putting it under pressure. They are going to monitor it, and then if there is the pressure relief, they got a valve set at higher setting for the pressure. If it's released, it'll go to a fuel gas treater unit and scrub. So they are monitoring and taking necessary measures to make sure it's not released from what they've responded.
And monitor. We could say, yes.
Mohan, is there a industry standard of monitoring when there is the nitrogen blanket that we could refer to at the very
No,
least?
I'm not aware.
We could say and monitor as necessary. We could just say that. They clearly have agreed to do that. We don't have to put anything specific in. We could say petitioner shall place unit such and such under nitrogen blanket before disconnecting incinerator such and such, and monitor the pressure as necessary until the
It
restoration.
is connected to the incinerator.
Until the restoration of gas flow. Okay. Okay, so did you have anything else to add, Mr. Balagopalan? And then I'll see if anyone else has any thoughts.
There's only, I don't know if it's a misstatement or Mrs. Valerie C's statement. I think she indicated that each of the burners were rated 60 million BTU. I see in the permit the total is 60, but that could be, I'm not sure which is correct. But I think the permit says total 60 million BTU. She indicated each of them. They got replacing 2 of the 4 burners. But that's in a declaration, so it's a minor.
And does it matter to your decision on the findings?
No, it doesn't.
Anyone else have any thoughts on the findings and the matter before we make a motion? Senator.
I'm looking at the declaration on the very last paragraph under 14. It talks interchangeably between the temporary portable vapor control system. They're using it. And that's what I think he's saying in lieu of.
I'm sorry, where are you looking? What part? Are you looking at?
You see, look, it didn't number already 13, 14.
The declaration?
Yeah.
Okay, and paragraph number 14?
That's correct.
Okay,
The 4th line from the bottom, they talk about the temporary portable vapor control system.
mm-hmm.
Throughout the petition, the findings and so on, they always refer to the portable temperature control system. And yet, in paragraph 12 on that same page, they were saying that they learned that it cannot be used because it would not adequately control emission from the desulfified separator 27C11A.
Right. If you look,
That's the vapor system?
yeah, if you look at the second page of Ms. Say's declaration, look at the second page, paragraph 7. That's where she details the 3 main streams that go to the incinerator. The first 2, one is vent gas from sulfur pit 28R-137, and the vapors from the loading rack. those two, A and B, those two are compatible with the vapor point system. So the proposed order is that what they propose is that they are going to take those two streams and direct them to the portable vapor point system, which has a higher efficiency than the incinerator and will control those emissions in total. Or not in total, there's an efficiency factor, but to the same extent or better than the incinerator. Then if you turn the next page, there's a third stream. That's the Mirox fume gas from disulfide separator 27C-11A. That's the only stream that currently goes to the incinerator that is not compatible, they have found, with the vapor point system. And so that stream, they propose to just shut in while the incinerator is not connected, and they're going to put a nitrogen blanket on that. And then once the incinerator is back in use and the gas is flowing again and restored, then they're going to remove that and allow it to go back to the incinerator. So 3 streams, a vapor point system only for 2 of them, and the other is going to be closed in. And the only issue is that it's clear that the parties have agreed to that, but they haven't put the requirement into the order. And I feel that even though we're not supposed to change consent documents, that it's implied that they have agreed to it. And so we're going to put it in.
Can I add something? I think following up on the Senate, even though I think they made the declaration that the portable control system is more efficient, they actually didn't provide any data, and it we'll go with what they said. They didn't provide any test data or anything, and the portable unit actually doesn't have a combustion unit. It's more scrubbing and carbon absorber, but we assume that what they may have test data, and that's why they're saying it's more efficient. But it's
okay. Do you believe that it's not as efficient?
I don't know. I think they do have a series of vessels to scrub it, and they do have the carbon bait. So, but they're not incinerating. But then, since the third item, the Mirox fumes, is not going to them, but that's probably why they're not able to do it, because there's no incineration, and that's why they're putting it in place. So,
well, I'm looking at the diagram, which is Exhibit 2, and in the same paragraph, number 11, you talk about 28F11, which is not shown on the diagram. Yes, it is. That's the incinerator.
28F11,
But we were sent to 27C.
This is where the incinerator is, right there.
The 27C, 11A, I don't see on the
That
diagram.
is right below the incinerator in this box, this dotted box.
Yeah, I see that. No. Oh, yeah. But that's not 11.
And it says underneath it that it's blocked in.
blocked.
That it will be blocked in during the. So the others will go to the temporary vapor system here. So this and the loading rack will all go. So the loading rack and this sulfur pit will go to this temporary, the vapor point system. And then this, which is the only remaining stream, that will be blocked off.
So the emission, excess or otherwise, that's off gas. Is that not correct?
From that 27C-11, what that normally is, it's fume gas, yeah, right? Is that what you would call it?
Off gas, I get.
Mr. Balagopalan, that's an off-gassing?
Yeah, I think it's the mercaptan oxidation. They call it Mirox fumes. That normally goes to the incinerator and it's burnt off.
They use it interchangeably. All right.
So yeah, they're going to put it under pressure. They're going to monitor it under a blanket, a nitrogen blanket. They'll keep it under storage, basically until they get the incinerator burners replaced, and then they'll then they will feed it back into the incinerator.
Right, but it's going from 27
C,
7C 11A.
right?
So where's that shown in the diagram?
That's on the right side, where right below the incinerator, it says they're blocked in. So that they're putting an X, so it now since with the revision, it is not going to the incinerator, so it'll be blocked in. So it'll be under a blanket.
I see 27C 11, but not A.
Yeah, I think they missed the A. You're right.
They missed the A.
Yeah.
All right, you gotta tell them that. All right, thank you.
I just am taking a moment. Is there anyone else who has any thoughts? I'm just taking a moment. I want to redo these conditions just a little bit. Okay. Okay, I think I have it, and I'm going to make a motion unless there's any other thoughts.
Just,
Mhm.
I think when you're making the motion, I think we should remove the, in condition.
That's what I'm gonna
Two.
do. I'm gonna remove it from condition 2, and I'm gonna propose a condition 3 that is going to take care of that.
Okay, yeah, that
This
just
will be my proposal. What I'm gonna do is, and tell me if you agree. Condition number 2, on the 3rd line, I'm going to remove the disulfide separator 27C-11A device 1324. I'm gonna remove that.
Right.
Then I'm going to put in a condition number 3 that's going to mirror condition number 2 to some extent. It's going to say, after incinerator 28F11 has been shut down and until it is reconnected to the units specified below and returned to full use. To the units, okay, wait. No, and until it is reconnected to, and I'm going to put, sorry, I'm going to put the disulfide separator 27. So it's going to say 3 will say, after incinerator 28F11 has been shut down and until it is reconnected to the disulfide separator 27C-11A, that device number, petitioner shall place the disulfide separator 27C-11A under nitrogen blanket and monitor the pressure as necessary. That makes sense?
Yes. Just also on the AOC condition is the same thing.
Right.
Because they get referred to it there.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to do this and I'll say it again. Okay, so if that makes sense to you, Mr. Balagopalan, I'm going to make a motion. Oh, Senator, yes. I'm going to say this again if you didn't catch it.
Yeah, on the declaration, the very last page, number 22, it said the district has agreed to a set of proposed variance conditions, which are attached to the petition as Exhibit 4. Now, if you change these conditions or modify them in any way, would it be stipulated to?
That is the issue. And generally speaking, we can't do that on consent. We can't add conditions or change them. However, in this situation, it is very clear that the parties did in fact agree to what we're going to place into the order. They just didn't put it in the order. I don't know if it was an oversight. I think it was an oversight because they amended the petition and then they got the consent papers done. But it's very clear from Valerie Say's declaration, as well as the notification condition 1D and F, that the parties do anticipate that that unit will be placed under nitrogen blanket and that until the incinerator is back in service. And so as a result, we're simply putting in a condition because they skipped the requirement that that be done, but it's insinuated, and the parties clearly have agreed to it. So we're going to put it in because it belongs
Oh,
in there. We are, but because the district clearly has agreed, and so has petitioner. By their own words, they've agreed to it.
I think you have attorneys on both sides and they overlook this.
It was done quick, and I understand why. You know, there was a holiday, but this is the problems that we face when parties try to get things on consent. And even though it wasn't Friday at 1:30, it was essentially like Friday at 1:30. Yes, it was Wednesday, and yes, we do require anything being heard on a Tuesday on consent that the papers be filed the previous Wednesday. That doesn't make sense when there's a holiday. So they should have gotten it in before. However, I think we can make this change because you make a very good point, Senator, but I think we can do it. Dr. Bernstein.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I beg a 5-minute recess, and I'll be right back.
Yes, and then I'll make a motion. So let's just
literally 5 minutes.
okay. We'll just stand by and
I'll take 6 minutes.
what's that? You want 6 minutes?
No.
All right, we're off the record for 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm back. Thank you.
Okay, everybody ready? Yeah. Okay, everybody. Okay, we're back on the record and I'm going to make a motion. In the matter of Torrance Refining Company LLC, case number 6060-12, I move that we grant a short variance and AOC. And I further move that we include exhibit number 7, which is the proposed findings and decision and order granting a short variance. This proposed findings and decision lays out all of the findings. It also lays out the equipment, the proper address, the rules and permit conditions from which the variance and AOC is granted. It further lays out the term of the variance and AOC, which would start today and go no longer than March 1st, 2021.
Six.
Sorry,
March 6th,
March 1st.
when they're listed on this one, the declarations in March 6th.
It says on, but in the order on page 8, which is what I'm going to incorporate, it says on line 26 of page 8, March 1st. And I think that's necessary to make sure it's within the 90 days of a short variance.
Well,
I further move that we adopt the conditions that are in exhibit number 7 for both the short variance and the AOC with the following changes that the board believes is based on the agreement and understanding of both parties. We are going to first modify condition number 2 on page 9, the short variance. On the third line of condition number 2, we will be removing the disulfide separator 27C-11A device number 1324. So that will be removed from condition number 2. In addition, we're going to add a condition number 3 and then renumber the conditions thereafter. And condition 3 will say the following. After incinerator 28F11, F-11 has been shut down, comma, and until it is reconnected to unit 27C-11 in parentheses D1324 close parentheses. Petitioner shall place unit 27C-11A under nitrogen blanket and monitor the pressure as necessary, period. I will make those same changes to the AOC conditions, and they start on page 10. And so similarly, I will take out the disulfide separator from condition 2 and add condition 3, which will say exactly what condition 3 stated for the short variance, and then renumber the AOC conditions thereafter. There are no excess emissions that are anticipated as a result of this short variance in AOC, and that completes my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Bernstein seconds the motion. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, Senator, how do you vote, Senator? Did you have discussion? Go ahead.
yes. You did a good job
Thank you.
going through the process.
And aided by my fellow board members, and in particular, thank you, Mr. Balagopalan, for understanding the technical parts of this that I lack. So Senator, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. Ms. Verdugo-Peralta, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Balagopalan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Bernstein, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote yes, motion passes 5-0. And hopefully the parties are well aware that they're going to do it anyway, but that they're aware we changed it and are monitoring this somehow. I'm looking to see if anybody's on. Madam Clerk, did you get all of that? And if not, we'll go through it together. Okay, excellent. All right, is there any other business then today, board members? And tomorrow we restart our training. I should ask you all, my plan is to do a few things. First of all, finish variances. Of course, go over findings for other major types of cases, including appeals, because more likely than not, we may have an appeal the first quarter of next year. That is in pre-hearing conference, but we won't talk about it in particular, but just the standard on appeal. I'm also realizing that for the new alternates, I probably should put in perspective what the hearing board is, but not who the AQMD is and what the AQMD's role is in the larger scheme of air quality and air pollution control. Do that real short. And then finally, I really want to go through the process of deliberation, why we deliberate, what we're supposed to be doing during deliberation, motion making, and all of that. And I want to go a little bit more into motion making for not the alternates, but for the board members, because December is going to be a very, very heavy month. And I would love for that to be an opportunity for board members who haven't yet felt comfortable enough to step up into motion making to perhaps try that with assistance from any assistance that may be necessary, so that we could spread out the additional work, which is considerable once the motion is made and there are orders, so that Mr. Balagopalan and myself don't carry too much of the load, although we can carry most of it.
I in particular want to be able to be part of that motion making, since I was on the board when the dry cleaner rule was written and was very much involved in it because of the Korean Association, and got their take from it as well as input, which helped us develop the rule, which is
Okay,
going to be a more sensible rule.
that'll be
So I
wonderful.
very much am invested in this.
So we'll go over that again, the motion making. We'll make sure that's part of the training in the next 2 days. But is there anything else that you all feel I should really center on in the next 2 days for the benefit of all of you, or the benefit of our new alternates? Senator.
How long will those training sessions last?
They shouldn't be. My hope is that each one is no more than 2 or 3 hours, so that we're spacing it out, and by getting it all done in the next 2 days.
I've been on for 4 years, so I need that much time.
I hate to tell you, but I wish I had had it when I started. There is so much of a learning curve. We all know that, and I think the more the better. And the members who are coming on simply, they've watched a few hearings, but they simply don't know what we do. And so it's very important that they do before they sit.
I'm in my last term, so we'll see.
Oh,
Carry on.
okay.
So we're on the morning tomorrow and in the afternoon the following day?
That is correct. So we won't go past the morning tomorrow, and obviously we can't go past the afternoon on Thursday. All right. So if there's anything you think of between now and then, just let me know. And otherwise, I'll just prepare whatever remaining training we have. Okay. Any other business before we adjourn? Okay. Thanks, everyone. We are adjourned.
Have a good day, everybody.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.